Hello, magic makers, and welcome back to the Metaphysical Apothecary. We are your hosts, Megan and Shannon. We are also known as the Scorpio Sisters, and we are here to explore the mysterious, magical, and the arcane. It's also a time to honor the Brigitte and her hearth.
It is her festival, it is her day. She's also associated with forging and blacksmithing.
And she is also heavily associated with the magic and safety of the sacred space of hearth and home.
In my ancestry, Eve is the goddess of fire, the sacred fire, fire of the hearth, fire of the forge.
Okay. And there are lots and lots of ways to honor her, whether you follow her or not. She's a very benevolent goddess. So if you want to honor her, she's definitely going to be okay with that. And if you prefer to honor someone else, she's also going to be perfectly fine with that. She doesn't get insulted easily. So there are a bunch of different ways to honor her. You can make a bride's bed using a corn or a wheat doll made during the previous Lammas.
Yeah, I've been making bride beds as part of my celebration of the season in general. Since I was a child, I would hold things that we didn't need anymore, things that we were getting rid of, old clothing that you were going to donate or weren't good enough to donate, you're going to throw away. You take that and you make it into a nest bed, and you just place your doll in it on an altar to symbolize the Brigitte.
Basically, that's what Brigitte's bed is. It's a compilation of these comfortable and comforting items where you symbolically create a place of rest and recuperation for the goddess.
Mm-hmm.
Other things you can do to honor the Brigitte are to create a Brigitte's cross or solar cross from natural materials. Straw, grass, palm fronds were all traditional, but you can also use whatever you have on hand. Pipe cleaners are fine. Straws, paper straws especially, because they're biodegradable, are perfectly fine. Whatever malleable but still stiff enough to hold its shape kind of crafting supply you have, you can use to weave a Brigitte's cross. And you can display that over your windows, over your doors. Again, it's a way to hail the sun and bring in the warmer weather and the budding of the trees and starting of the plants to grow more quickly.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great time to cleanse your altar. Take everything off of it, dust everything, wash everything, put on a fresh altar cloth or a clean altar cloth, burn the greens from Yule symbolically to help usher in the spring, and set up your altar.
Mm-hmm.
All of these activities that we do during Imbolc lead and feed directly into the activites we also perform at Lammas. Whether they're practical, whether they're a blend of practical and magical, or whether they are purely ritual, and vice versa. Lammas is the first harvest. It literally means loaf mass, just like we have candle mass for Imbolc. We have loaf mass in the Christian world for Lammas, because this is when your grains are ready to be harvested, stored, processed, and kept for the winter months to nourish you and your family.
We have historical records showing that priests go out and purposely bless the first wheats and corns that were harvested during this period of time, and then they go to the bakeries that are going to bake the first breads made with those first harvests and provide a wholesale blessing over all wheat and all bread for the next year.
Mm-hmm.
You were asking the divine or the cosmos, the universe, to bless your harvest and bless the products that you make with that harvest, and thus the nutrition and prosperity of your family and your community, and expand from there.
Lammas is also a time when stone fruits like cherries, peaches, nectarines, tree fruits like pears and apples are ripe, winter squash, root vegetables, brassicas like Brussels sprouts and broccoli, and summer produce. So the soft summer fruits and vegetables like berries and tomatoes and cucumbers. It's just this amazing time where you've got all this delicious stuff around you. So summer produce, including summer produce is ready for its final harvest, and some of your softer fruits and veggies like nightshades are getting ready to be harvested for the first time as well. And this was a season of furious activity for our ancestors. And even for people today, I come from farming stocks. So one of the activities I remember doing throughout my childhood was all of the apples that couldn't be sold or we couldn't use, all of the apple surplus went into this huge kettle over a giant bonfire. It was hung on this giant iron tripod, and they would all be cut up and thrown in there with spices and sugar and a little bit of salt, probably water, some other things, and we would make apple butter. All of the women would do all of the prepping of the apples and cut them up, and all of the men and some of the younger women as well would take turns stirring it. It would take all day to boil down from the white flesh of the apple into this dark, rich, reddish brown colored apple butter that was then canned and shared throughout the family.
Making the apple butter is a great way to kitchen witch, especially with the family. Making apple cider. As it's the first harvest, you're harvesting more than you can eat. You're harvesting more than your community can eat at any one particular point in time. You're preserving things. You're starting to make jams. You're starting to can. You're starting to dry things out so that way, or freeze them.
As we stated, our ancestors relied on food preservation to help get them through the winter, and it's a really practical way for us now to take care of surplus from the garden, from the grocery store. You bought too many cucumbers, so you make them into pickles. And then you have pickles. There's all kinds of magic inherent in the pickling liquid that you would use. Vinegar associations with the seeds that you're using in there, mustard seed, things of that nature. And then there's also drying, salting, canning and jarring, candying, which is one of, I know, Shannon's favorite ways to do ginger, and fermenting. My family, again, from a rural area, hunting was one of the ways that we made sure we had enough to eat. So my dad hunted during deer season, and we would eat venison pretty much all winter because we would freeze most of it. But my favorite thing that he would do is cure and dry it to make jerky. So he would soak it in his recipe, and he would turn our oven, put it on low, and then prop it open with a clothespin.
You could do that with vegetables or fruit as well.
Smoked peaches. Come on, that would be delicious.
I mean, I love grilled peaches, but yeah, smoked peaches is just as good.
Shannon has an amazing way to do ginger.
I can't do ginger, but I also make ginger infused water that I like to add to any rice that I'm cooking or into broths just to give it that fiery, spicy kick to it. It's so good. Ginger syrup that comes from it. And of course, the ginger candy pieces, which are really good to have when you have an upset stomach. And ginger infused sugar that comes off of it. So I'm preserving it in several ways in order to use it in several different situations, both medicinally, culinarily, and magically.
Right. Nothing from that recipe goes to waste. You even use the sugar that falls off of the candied ginger slices.
Yes, I do. Sometimes I'll sprinkle that onto a sugar cookie or oatmeal cookie. Sometimes I'll put that in my tea.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm feeling I need a little bit of sugar in my coffee, I will put the infused ginger in sugar, because ginger is so impactful and good. Just good, period.
There are lots of small batch food preservation methods that you can use, not just on meat, but also on fruits and veggies, just right in your home. And as you're going about it, keeping in mind the correspondences of the food that you're preserving, but also the method that you're using to preserve it. You don't have to go nuts with the food preservation. You can experiment a little bit. You can start with one thing and get expert at that and move on to something else. Or it could be just something that you traditionally just do during that time.
And the things you're not preserving, the things you're not going to eat, you're not feasting on, you're probably going to start baking with.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my favorite kitchen witching thing to do during this season, because you have so many fresh fruit and fresh wheat products and fresh corn products and fresh grain products.
You can add solar crosses to your pies and pastries or sigils to crusts.
Glyphs. If you want to work with a planetary energy, you can add their glyph to your pastry. So you can add the glyph or symbol of Mercury to a pastry puff or a biscuit or a pie or even a cake if you want to decorate it with, frostings or glaze.
Shortbread cookies.
Yes.
You can also press seeds or dried fruit into the tops of all of these items to create symbols as well.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to combining the ingredients mindfully to create energies and intention that you want to absorb and carry with you as the days grow shorter.
Mm-hmm. Another great way of using your abundance of produce is adding them to your breakfast foods, slices of a berry or even an apple into your pancake mix, and make fruit pancakes or fruit waffles.
Uh-huh. Or if you like oatmeal, steel cut oats, you can put them in a heat safe container in a water bath with the proper ingredients in your crock pot overnight. And then in the morning, you will have oatmeal that is perfectly cooked and flavored with all of the seasonings and magical intentions of your choice.
I'm getting hungry.
I know. We're making ourselves quite hungry.
Both seasons, Imbolc and Lammas, are about not wasting. So you're crafting your kitchen, everything around you, and you're crafting it into intended use and consumption.
Yes. And in cutting back on waste, there will always be a little bit of waste. Don't beat yourself up over a bowl of soup that went moldy in the back of your fridge. That happens to everyone, but the less we can waste, the more we get to enjoy the abundance that we have access to.
Mm-hmm. We have to redefine what waste is.
Right? And Lammas is a wonderful time to sort of reframe how you think about waste, because even though we do have access to grocery stores, we have electricity, we have forced air heat and radiators, it's still a time that's leading into a season where we have less. Maybe the produce at the grocery store isn't quite as good, so the pickled peppers that you have canned in your cupboard are more delicious because they grew out under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can't make it to the grocery store because there's a huge snowstorm or a blizzard or there's ice or whatever the severe weather during the winter might be in your area of the world. So you look through your pantry and you have these things preserved.
Because of the preparation work you did during the Lammas season.
Exactly.
When you're starting to get ready to transition to a colder season, you're not going to put away your summer clothes yet, but you need to look at your winter clothes.
Uh-huh.
You need to determine, are there patches and sewing that needs to happen? Is there knitting that needs to happen? Do you need to knit? Or are you going to be crocheting? You might be quilting. You might have all these beautiful, lovely fabrics that you got from clothing that you absolutely love and you don't want to throw it away. You don't want to donate it because you're sure that the donation is going to end up a waste pile somewhere. You salvage the fabric so you can quilt that into a blanket or a tapestry.
Yeah.
That you just want to hang on your wall.
And that can also be something practical for the winter because that adds insulation to the wall. So it's beautiful and magical because you can absolutely stitch witchery into that piece, but it's also a practical addition.
I also take worn t-shirts that I'm not going to wear anymore. They're too loose or not comfortable, too small. And I actually put them on canvases. I'll staple them onto canvases and hang that as art.
Yeah.
If you keep the t-shirt whole, you can put batting between the canvas and the back of the shirt.
And that helps keep warmth in and cold out. It also helps dampen sound, so it stewards your energy, which you need to conserve during the winter. Another way to use those t-shirts, or really any clothing, is to turn it into t-shirt yarn. That can be rugs to keep your feet snugly and warm on hardwood or linoleum floors. You can turn that into throw blankets, shawls, anything that you can knit or crochet you can make with t-shirt yarn. And if they're not the colors that you'd like to use, see if you can dye them. The idea of knot magics with crocheting, with dyeing, you're playing with color magic, even layers of color magic.
Tie-dyeing.
Yes.
Which is color magic on top of matrixing magic. You can try to create a geometrical shape in the process of tie-dyeing.
Yes. Sacred geometry, and a great end of summer activity. Send your kids back to school in some amazing tie-dyed clothing.
Or decorate your dormitory with some amazing tie-dyed t-shirt canvases. Tie-dye your bedding and your curtains.
Oh, yes. Or even just dye them. Batik dyeing is also a really wonderful way to update any fabrics. And curtains are another amazing solar magic activity. You can make them out of bed sheets, and they're also insulating. They add a freshness and a beauty to a room, and you let in as much or as little light as you want with them.
As little as possible.
When I'm sleeping, absolutely. If you're looking to alleviate some anxiety and really get some solar magic going, tie-dye your underwear. It is a secret between you and yourself, and it really makes a difference in your mood.
Your underwear always makes a difference in your mood.
It does. People underestimate that. So other ways that we can really enjoy the Lammas season are by drawing together as a community, whether you have relatives that you like to celebrate the seasons with, or a coven, a community, a town that you live in, or found family. You can draw everyone together around a bonfire, safely and conscientiously, socially distanced. When you're doing this, you can pull the intention into yourself to carry the solar energy and the warmth and the abundance of the closing season into the next season.
During Lammas, things that you can do that are purely ritualistic is make that corn or wheat doll that will end up in the bride's bed in Imbolc. You don't have to use a wheat or corn. You could use paper or whatever you have at hand, cloth, to honor the first harvest season's energy to be put on your altar or to be hung on your door, in your window, in some way, shape, or form to be displayed out to the world. You can also make wreaths with corn cobs, the year of the wheel shape, where you have 8 cobs in a spoke wheel. Or you can do a corn man wreath, which is a 5 cob star, and hang that on your door. So you're honoring the year of the wheel and how the cycles turn. You can be honoring humanity and man's effort to reap what they sowed, reap what you have sowed, and our progress in nature thus far.
Yes, absolutely.
That's all we have on the topic for today. Thank you so much for listening in, and we hope you'll join us again next time. In the meantime, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest, and go to our blog for some more witchy wisdom, as well as check out some of our original art on Society 6 for sacred decor and more. Thank you again for joining us, and go make some magic and live your best life. Bye.
Bye, everyone.